That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, this is going to be a continuation of yesterday's video, and I forgot to make an announcement in that video, but I'm sorry. I know I've been trying to get y'all 2 videos a day. I did it for about a month, and I kept on annoying y'all, begging y'all for likes, and it really trailed off at the end. I know we were able to surge through for a couple weeks. I was really impressed with the support that we got on the videos, but I mean, we really trailed off. I could see the YouTube algorithm stop recommending and pushing out the content just based on the impressions per video that the channel was receiving. The click-through rate was still high, even higher than average, and the impressions were a lot lower. So this is basically a condensed version of saying the algorithm came through and put a bad grade on the channel for the amount of videos that were being uploaded, just because the way that the YouTube algorithm works. I don't know why it does that. Don't ask me. We've tried this multiple times, but we're going to have to go back to 1 video a day. I mean, y'all saw how the past couple videos have done when we're doing 1 video a day. For some reason, the algorithm just really prefers to promote those videos, and the channel will get the same amount of exposure 1 video a day compared to 2. So it doesn't make sense for me to continue to grind away like that. And I'm sorry, guys. Maybe in a couple weeks, once the channel goes back, the algorithm resets on its grade, then we'll try to redo the 2 videos a day, try to get that going for another month or so, and reevaluate where we should go. I'm just out here trying to make the best decision for the channel, and right now I believe that is going back to 1 video a day. But still, I mean, how many YouTube channels are getting y'all 1 video a day? I mean, I was doing 2 a day for a while, and we are out here, we are grinding. I play in probably more Dynasty leagues, play in higher stakes than 99% of the Dynasty podcasters you listen to, and let's jump into it. If you haven't watched one of these styled videos by now, I really play in I run a lot of Dynasty Flock leagues. If you want to join one of those, go down to the group chat and send me a direct message. But I'm going to go through, I conducted 4 Dynasty startup drafts on the Flock channel, and really I've tracked all the real data of where these players were going. This isn't ADP, these are not free leagues, these are not mock drafts. These are real data points with paid leagues where people are actually invested in where they're valuing these players. I'm going to go through, talk about where they were valued before the NFL draft and where they are valued now. These are guys that are rising up fast, and if they aren't rising up fast in Dynasty startups right now, I'm going to let you know that they are going to be soon. They are going to be in the coming weeks. Go to your Dynasty league mates right now. Try to trade for some of these guys, because once the other Dynasty podcasters try to look at market shares, try to look at projections, and outline what these players are going to be able to do for 2020 and beyond, they're going to be like, oh crap, I'm too low on this guy. Then they're going to go and they're going to make this announcement, and their value is going to be raised up a little bit. I'm going to try to get into it, try to outline some sleeper guys that are a little undervalued, that their values currently rising, and I'm going to get into deeper guys at the end of the video. But at the beginning of the video, we're going to go hit the basics, hit the running backs that everyone kind of knows that should be rising in value. I'm going to tell you exactly where their new value is compared to where it once was. But let's start off with the poster boy of winning the NFL draft, James Conner, value riser. I mean, he was drafted really at an insane value before the NFL draft, just mainly due to the uncertainty of him having an NFL job. You can really go through and make whatever argument you want with how talented he is, with how injury prone he is. It doesn't really matter. The fact is, if you are a running back, if you have a 3-down workhorse profile, and you're stepping into one of the league's best offenses and you're going to get the opportunity, you are going to be a fantasy stud. So James Conner, while he may not have much long-term upside, for the immediate points he's going to score you in 2020 alone, his value is definitely going to increase, not only in the coming months, but all the way up until the beginning of the season. So in the first 4 Dynasty startups that we hosted before the NFL draft, James Conner was selected at the 11-10, the 9-07, the 11-07, and the 11-09. So this is all in a really similar range, near the 11th round. But if we look at his positional drafting, he was drafted as the RB30, the RB23, the RB30, and the RB30. Now this is hilarious. We don't really see players this consistent this far down the draft board. I don't know how this happened. Maybe he was right at the end of a tier, but this puts him at an average of RB 28.25 for real life Dynasty drafts before the NFL draft. And now let's look at our most recent Dynasty startup where he was drafted after the NFL draft, so we know his situation. He was taken at the 10.03, which is not a lot higher than where he was already going, but this is all the way up to RB22. So we see him really flying up compared to the other running backs' value, and this is for good reason. I know a lot of people are going to go on and say, hey, James Conner isn't good. James Conner shouldn't be valued like this. Doesn't really matter in my opinion. He's going to get the volume, and that's a player I'm excited about. They only brought in Anthony Mcfarland, who I believe was a 4th-round NFL draft pick. I'm really not even concerned about Anthony McFarland. I would be much more concerned about a Benny Snell and a Jalen Samuels than I would be an Anthony McFarland. Now, let's go to a running back that his value is going up. I don't know. I'm going to be completely off of him. I've always been off of him. Never liked this player's profile and really never liked the situation. So, never had him, never will. This is Chris Carson. Obviously, the story with him is 7th-round NFL draft pick. I mean, he beat out Rashad Penny for the starting job. I thought that was never going to last. We saw Rashad Penny with the 1st-round NFL draft capital. Y'all know I probably put a little bit too much stock into that NFL draft capital. So historically, I kind of missed out on these late-round players like a Chris Carson. And yeah, let's talk about where he was drafted before the NFL draft and where you expect to see his value now. So before the NFL draft, he was taken at the 9.01, the 9.09, the 11.01, and the 10.01. So this is really just in the RB2 range. He was drafted at the RB21, RB24, RB28, RB22. So he was being taken as a low-end RB2, high-end RB3. I mean, I still think this is too high for Chris Carson, even after the NFL draft, just because we see him deal with fumbling concerns. He's on the last deal of his rookie contract, and at the same time, he's dealing with a serious hip injury, and who knows if he's going to be really ready to go at the beginning of the season. And this is a guy who's been dealing with injuries pretty much his entire career dating back to college. So in our most recent Dynasty startup draft, he really didn't even see that much of a value bump, even though I promise you in the majority of leagues he is going to. Like we were about to kick off another Dynasty Flock league, and I guarantee you he's going to be drafted higher than this. He was taken at the 10.07, which was the RB23 in our most recent Dynasty startup, which happened after the NFL draft. I expect his value to continue to rise throughout the offseason. Now let's go to a running back that I've had an extremely hard time evaluating, and I was kind of avoiding him before the NFL draft because I thought his team was a sneaky landing spot for a Jonathan Taylor, and this is Austin Eckler. And I know y'all are going to say, Mason, why the hell would you ever think Austin Eckler was going to the Los Angeles Chargers? It's because the common NFL fan is not as in tune with Austin Eckler as most Dynasty players, and at the same time, we've never really seen Austin Eckler handle a feature back workload for the entire NFL season just because Melvin Gordon has been there. And I'll be the first one to say that I think Austin Eckler is one of the most talented running backs in the entire NFL and probably brings his NFL team more value than the majority of starting running backs in the league currently. But for Dynasty, I was kind of just a little wary of him just because I didn't think that he was going to be able to provide that 3-down bell cow workload. But we see him before the NFL draft go through 3.07, 4.08, 4.06, 4.05. This is and then he was taken at RB10, RB12, RB11, RB11, an average of RB11. So really a low-end RB1. And now after the NFL draft, I think this is a completely fair price for Austin Eckler. He has the recent contract. He has the backfield. Really, the only other running backs there are Justin Jackson and Joshua Kelly. So Austin Eckler is slated in to have a massive workload in 2020, even if he doesn't get a workload like a Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, really Dalvin Cook. I mean, you can go on and on about these workhorse running backs. It doesn't matter. Austin Eckler is extremely efficient with the touches that he gets. He's an extremely efficient receiving running back, and that's what we want to see because we know work in the receiving game. Really, that's where fantasy points are scored, and that's where you want your running back touching the ball. But in our most recent Dynasty startup draft, after the NFL draft, he was selected at the 3.09, which was the RB11. I think this is a great value for Austin Eckler, and I'm going to be buying him up here at this price every time because I believe that he's going to be able to finish as a low-end RB1, high-end RB2 for the next 2 to 3 years, and that's really all you can ask for at the running back position. Now, let's go down to Kenyon Drake, a running back that I sold hilariously low in the original Flock League last offseason. And yeah, if you're in that league, you can give me a good laugh at what I traded him to Scott for. We're not going to talk about it, but let's jump into where he was being valued before the NFL draft and after the NFL draft. And I know most people did not expect the Arizona Cardinals to take a running back, but at the same time, not only did they pass up on taking a running back, they also invested in the offensive line and invested in the defense. And that's what you really want to see for your running back on that NFL team. So before the NFL draft, he was selected at the 5.01, the 4.12, the 6.02, the 5.06. he was being taken as a high-end RB2, as in the RB14, RB13, RB15, RB14, which was an average of RB14 off the board. And I think that's a decent value for him. And right now it's looking even better. In our most recent Dynasty starter draft, he was selected higher than he has been in pretty much any league up to date. He was selected at the 410 as the RB13. Great value for Kenyon Drake. He's a guy that, yeah, he only has 1 year on contract for the Arizona Cardinals. But at the same time, if he proves again to be a great NFL running back, I think this is a guy that could have a role on the Arizona Cardinals for the next 2 to 3 years. Now, let's go to one of my favorite running backs. Y'all know I had him as my RB1 before the NFL draft last offseason when most people had him outside of their top 5 running backs. So I always have a heavy bias towards him. I'm always trying to scoop him up wherever I can. This is Miles Sanders. What's hilarious about Miles Sanders is I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, how did Miles Sanders win this draft, Mason? You're just losing it right now. But we look at a couple things happening. I know a lot of people love to say, oh, Miles Sanders is a great running back, yada, yada, yada. But Doug Peterson, oh, Philly loves committees. They love committees. How confident are we that they're going to be willing to give Boston Scott a good amount of carries instead of just continuing to feed Miles Sanders the ball? Like, are we being serious? I understand that they like committee running backs, but at the same time, you have to look at this team and say they haven't had a running back with a talent profile like Miles Sanders in an extremely long time. And I don't think Doug Peterson has really ever had a running back like Miles Sanders in his entire career in Philadelphia. So I think this is going to be a different scheme due to the personnel that they invested in. And at the same time, maybe they go out there in the NFL draft, they take an A.J. Dillon in the 3rd round, then I can understand. You can say, hey, Miles Sanders is a faller. Yes, Miles Sanders is never going to be able to be that feature back. He's never going to be able to be that workhorse. But at the same time, we look at his profile right now. We look at the other running backs in Philadelphia. What is keeping Miles Sanders from commanding 65, 70% of the touches in that backfield? I really don't think there's anything that's going to stop him from doing that. And I think the coaching narrative is a little overblown just because of the history that they've had with their running back personnel. And I'm really all in on Miles Sanders in 2020 and beyond. And a little sneaky bonus is they actually went out there and got Jaylen Hertz. And I know that this is kind of sounds irrelevant to most people, but now in the situation where we see Carson Wentz go down, which I know a lot of people want to argue he's injury prone, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to speak on that. I'm not a doctor. Neither are you. I don't think you should be speaking on Carson Wentz's injury proneness. I mean, nobody really knows. Philadelphia Eagles training staff probably is a good idea. Carson Wentz probably has a good idea, but if you're just listening to some average Joe talking on his podcast about if Carson Wentz is going to get injured this upcoming season, guys, I mean, he's just talking out of his ass. You shouldn't be listening to that guy. But in our most recent startup, Miles Sanders went at the 2.06 RB8, which is a lot higher than where he's been going previously. He's been mainly going at the beginning of the 3rd round of these startups. And what's really funny is we've conducted 4 Dynasty startups before the beginning of the NFL draft. He went as the RB9 in every single draft, and this is just hilarious because it shows that he was at the clear end of the tier 2 of running backs, right behind Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon. And I'm here arguing that I think he should be going ahead of both of these running backs, especially now after the NFL draft. And I am pushing my chips in on Miles Sanders and trying to get him on every single Dynasty team that I can. Now, let's go to 2 running backs that I haven't really heard anybody discuss as winners of the NFL draft. 2 guys that are sneaky winners, and I'm going to be trying to trade for them. And I already actually picked up one of them in one of my rookie drafts, just trading for him, moving back a couple picks. And let's first start off with Raquel Armstead. Now, we all know the Leonard Fournette rumors. We all know that most people think that Leonard Fournette is going to be traded off the Jacksonville Jaguars before the season starts. And this was the concern with Armstead is, hey, these rumors are already out before the NFL draft. What happens when the Jacksonville Jaguars go out there in round 2, beginning of round 3, and take a Cam Akers? Raquel Armstead is going to still be the backup running back for whatever running back they bring in, yet they decide to really completely ignore the position in the draft, and they still are going out there and kind of waiving Leonard Fournette's guarantees. I can't remember exactly what happened. I just remember seeing a quick glance of it in our Dynasty group chat, but the team clearly is not committed to Leonard Fournette, and they do not bring in any other significant option at that position. So Raquel Armstead, the all-purpose running back behind Leonard Fournette, obviously gets a boost. I mean, he's a great guy. He's a sophomore running back, so if your league has a taxi squad, he's most likely taxi eligible, and he's a guy that can play all 3 downs, and he's a better receiving back than Leonard Fournette. So I'm going in and I'm going to try to be trading for Reichwell Armstead, because as soon as Leonard Fournette is traded, you know Armstead's value is going up. But also, I mean, I know that a lot of people want to come out here and have this same take and try to say it's their little sneaky guy, like it's their sleeper. Guys, I mean, stop being clowns. Everyone knows who Reichwell Armstead is. Like, come on. But let's get to our last player that I'm really excited about. This is the guy I just went out there and traded for, and this is Damien Harris. Now, we know the story. Damien Harris was a third-round NFL draft pick by the New England Patriots last year, was an all-down running back at Alabama, and really was not able to get on the field his rookie year. But we look at his overall profile. He has that three-down skill set. Also, the other running backs on the roster are Sony Michelle, which I think is kind of clear at this point. Sony Michelle is not good at football. He's one of the worst running backs in the league last season in terms of what he did per touch. I mean, and first off, I apologize for anybody that I went out there, advocated last offseason to go buy Sony Michelle, thought he was a value. Oops, clearly I was wrong, and I'm going to own up to it. That's on me. And then we also see James White, who's turning 28, 29 soon. So I'm really just completely off of that situation. Damien Harris is the clear value. I know he was being drafted at the end of first rounds of rookie drafts last offseason, and I was not on him at that price. But at this point, he's a last round pickup in your Dynasty startup drafts, and you can really go out there. I believe I ended up trading like the 111 for the 202 Damien Harris, like the 210, and something like that. Like Damien Harris is just a complete throw-in at this point. So I think he is a great guy. The New England Patriots don't bring anybody else in at that position in the NFL draft. He is a sneaky winner that you should be going out there and buying right now. But thanks so much, guys. Really hope you all enjoyed the video. Really hope you all got something from it. As always, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you go down there, join our Dynasty group chat, completely free. That's where all the discussion's happening. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all. Have a great day.